How's it going, guys? My name is Jimmy Williams, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install a spare tire on this 1994 Honda Del Sol. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that your parking brake is set to ensure that the vehicle is not going to roll anywhere once you start working on it. The next step is, before you jack up the vehicle, you're going to want to take your breaker bar, and in this case for this vehicle, a 19mm socket, and break your lugs loose. The next step is going to be to jack up the vehicle. On this vehicle, it has specific mounting points denoted with an arrow located underneath the side skirt, which, because this vehicle is so low, you won't be able to see on camera, but to somebody actually doing it, you will be able to see. So you get down underneath and you take your jack, you find the jack point, place the head of the jack on it, and then start to jack up the vehicle. You only have to jack up the vehicle as high as it needs to be to get the wheel off the ground. Now that the wheel is off the ground, we can take our lugs off. And since we already broke these loose earlier, we don't have to worry about having to break them loose again. Looks like this one's a little bit tight. In that case, you just want to take your socket, just kind of work it out a little bit. Sometimes this happens, they get a little caught from being on there for a long time. Once all four of the lugs are off, you want to set them aside and make sure that they're going to be somewhere safe where they're not going to get lost. Because if you're doing this on the side of the road, the last thing you want to have happen is lose your lugs. We can now set the other wheel aside, and we're going to take our spare tire here, bring it over, and start to mount it up on the vehicle. Now before you do this, you want to make sure that your spare tire is inflated to the proper air pressure, which in this case is 60 psi, which this tire has been inflated to 60 psi ahead of time. And it's also important to make sure that your tires, including your spare tire, are all checked regularly to maintain the proper air pressure in case you should have to use it. Now what I'm doing now is simply reinstalling the lugs that I took off from the old wheel onto the spare tire. They go on the same way they came off, and you only have to get them down hand tight as much as you can. Once all our lugs are hand tight, we can now come to our jack here and turn it to the left to slowly lower the vehicle, and we only want to lower it until the tire touches the ground. We don't want to fully release the jack yet. Once the vehicle is touching the ground, we can take again our 19mm socket, and we call this a torque wrench. We use this to torque the lugs to the proper torque spec for the vehicle, which on a 90s Honda like this is 80 foot-pounds. You can see here that I've already set this to right between 85 and 70 at 80 foot-pounds. So now we're going to simply take this, put it on our lugs, and turn them until we hear a click, like that. And I like to go in a star pattern just to make sure that the wheel is flush against the hub in an even manner. And then once all four lugs have been torqued to the proper spec, I like to go around in a circle just to double check and make sure that I have in fact torqued all my lugs. Now we can set this aside, and once all the lugs are torqued, we can take our jack and fully release it to the ground by turning it all the way to the left. And once the jack's down, we simply pull it out, and now our spare tire is installed. And that's how you change a spare tire.